Yeah, they have a bucket. They're not aware. You guys have no idea you have that bucket, but we know.
They carry on top of their heads.
Some of us carry like in front of us, like this. Yeah. So you have something that you carry your stress in.
Yes.
And generally,
you're dumping all the different stressors.
All the different stressors coming in there, and in many cases it starts overflowing. That's the way you start manifesting things.
Right.
Yeah.
The more that bucket gets filled up, the more symptoms you're gonna have.
Exactly. So let's talk about how somebody can get that bucket full. Let's say physical stress. What is physical stress?
Well, any stress that you put up on the body.
So let's say if you work a lot, it can be stressful.
Yeah.
If you work out, if you're a hardcore workout person, you lift weights. I've done this for years. I've been under a lot of physical stress. Yeah?
There's other factors that will add to that or take away from that stress, but yeah, working out too much is a form of stress.
Working outside, for example, like a hard labor, can be a big physical stress.
Imagine, digging ditches on the side of the road for the...
Opposite to it will be working in an office and not really doing a lot, just staying on the computer.
Right.
Physical stress, different kind of physical, but it's an endurance, more of an endurance physical stress.
Yeah, and too much, physical exertion or too little, they're gonna have an impact on the body. What you want to find is the happy medium. If you work in a very sedentary job, you have to trace some kind of movement. If you have a job that's very physically demanding, then you have to get, that energy drain that you have there, you have to supplement it with an energy gain, which will be your food, your water, and your sleep. So you see how everything gets...
So go back to episodes and watch the episode about food and watch about hydration.
And about sleeping.
And about sleeping. So you start noticing that things that get connected. There's a reason to our madness. Reason to our madness? Can I say that?
Yeah. Well, a method to what madness is.
Okay. Whatever the expression is, that's the one. Mental stress. Mental stress? Who doesn't have it these days?
Who isn't mental?
Who isn't mental? We'll talk a little bit about how you can manage things, but be aware that it can cause the same problems.
Yes.
If you're stressed out, just taking a Xanax or a Prozac is not going to help. It actually might create another stress, which is a chemical stress.
That's correct. And it's important to realize that we have them all in more or greater levels, and they all dump in the same bucket. Remember the bucket that is mentioned that you carry in your head? So eventually it gets filling up. So it's our job to minimize that load that we put in, because that weight will crush us.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Nutritional stress. If you don't eat according to what you're supposed to be eating,
right?
If you're Eskimo and you eat vegetarian food, if you're vegetarian or Indian and you're eating like an Eskimo, chances are you're not providing.
You're not providing nutrients, you're not giving the very basic energy that the body can make out of that food to have his homeostasis, which is balance.
And if you're not giving to your body going to be upset at you.
Yeah.
And that is going to show that.
Yeah.
So pay attention to those two. Chemical stress. Chemicals come into our life from everywhere these days.
Yes, well, right
everywhere.
Now we have over...
It's like the biggest business.
Yeah, 10,000 pollutants in the air in any given part of this United States, Miami happens to be a pretty clean place, believe it or not.
Listen, we don't we don't have mountains,
but
we don't even have hills. The only thing we have bridges. So the air moves freely through Florida, so at least we get a clean air.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of heavy industry of any type that will pollute the air to that degree.
Compared to like New Jersey or LA.
Yeah, I lived in New Jersey for 20
I lived in LA with all the mountains stopping everything, all the smoke on top of you get up in the morning.
15 miles south of where I live, there's a huge oil refinery. So you can imagine the kind of pollution that gets dumped. Not to mention that that's, if I go 50 miles in the other direction, southeast, then we have what's known as the chemical belt. That's the largest producer of petrochemicals and agrochemicals and all kinds of food additives. They're all produced in the area, so it is highly
be
toxic.
aware. Be aware that there's not only things that are around you can make an effect. Other things that come through the skin. Our household products, the paint, the new cars, the food. I mean, how many chemicals are in the food? It's ridiculous.
Untold number, yeah.
So that can all cause quite a lot of chemical stress. Now, think of it like this. Some of us are gifted and can process a lot of garbage fast. Some of us are not.
Right.
So if you're not, you're going to manifest a whole lot faster than somebody who can.
And it's all relative to your level of stress.
It is totally relative to the way of stress. So don't think that if you can handle a lot, it's going to be forever.
No.
Chances are it's not. And if you can handle just a little bit, be very careful of how much you add to it and how much you got to be taken out.
Yeah.
Some people have to live in a very almost semi-sterile environment.
If they're very environmentally sensitive, they will have to.
For sure, yeah. So be careful, be aware of those things. Another stress, let's say thermal stress. Live in Miami.
Thermal in Miami is huge. Well, you say, oh, you guys have sunshine and nice weather all year and stuff like that. Yes and no. In the summertime, it's brutally hot. So you're constantly going from my house I come to Aram's, you're driving for 15-20 minutes, you get in the car, and the car's been in the sun for a couple of hours, and the car's like 120 something degrees plus. You go inside of any store, any place, and they have the AC running around 65 degrees. So you go from sweating profusely to walking into somewhere that feels almost like a mid-locker, and the body kind of has like that kind of reaction, and that's very stressful to the body. When we talk about thermal stress as far as the seasons, the body has a transition period that actually has time to adapt. Like when you go from winter into springtime, yes, it is true that some days in the spring that it feels like the summer, but they're not quite the summer. So the body has a little bit of a reaction and a hard time to adapt. But when you live in a very warm place and you walk into a very cold place, like it's around here everywhere, or the opposite, you live in freaking Montana and you walk from house to house from your car and you have those houses heating up at 80+ degrees and nice and dry, and it's just really brutal to the body. The body has a really hard time adapting, so that creates another form of stress. Can we control those? Not really, but we control all the other ones to a degree. So wherever you can make up, you take advantage.
So be careful that temperature can be draining.
Yes. Yeah, you will feel literally drained.
It takes a lot of energy from your body to maintain the same temperature.
Yeah.
You have to be pretty much at a constant temperature the whole time, your body.
Ideally, yeah.
So outside hot temperature or cold temperature affects the way your temperature is. Yeah. And it takes a lot of energy from you to maintain that specific temperature.
Figure this way, when the body is cold, it kind of, the muscles start, like moving faster, they kind of like almost shivering to create heat.
Yeah.
And then you go outside and it's excessively hot, and the body says, well, what happened? Am I going crazy? Yeah, you are. So those drastic changes put a lot of stress load, more stuff into the bucket.
For sure.
Yeah.
Electromagnetic stress. Electronics all over the place.
Yeah.
Now, some people, I understand, feel nothing. I mean, good luck to you guys. I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
God bless you all.
Yeah.
But understand, there's some people that are extremely sensitive.
Yeah. They call it environmental disease. There's a whole new branch of medicine that actually tries to do the best they can dealing with those people.
So be careful. The computers, the cell phones, all the electronics around you, there's a possibility of creating like a high voltage lines next to your house.
Absolutely. I mean, there's
possibility. I'm not saying that it is. We're not ever saying this is what it is, but there is a possibility. Pay attention.
Well, there's research that actually showed that living near very high voltage, towers and stuff like that causes, it causes a destruction of your DNA. So it's going to affect you dramatically. All the cell towers, they're everywhere. We don't even get to see them because a lot of them, when you have any type of public building, that's the first place that they will install cell towers for the cell service. Computers do. Telephones do. The more complicated and more advanced your telephone is, your iPhones, your Blackberries, your Crackberries, your whatever you call them, they're all going to create a lot of electromagnetic stress. Sometimes we are plugged to them all day long. We carry it on our hip. Or we have a wire that brings it right to your ears, so that the electromagnetic force is going to go right in between your ears. Well, I happen to have a brain there. I don't want it to cook it too fast. Being exposed, which sometimes we don't even realize it, being exposed to microwave food. People that eat fast food get microwave food all the time, and that food is actually highly charged with electromagnetic force. It's going to have a detriment to your health because it's not going to provide an energy. Quite the opposite. The body